Second half, Cincinnati leads UCF 41-36. Earlier, Iowa State blew out Arizona State 91-42. ACC tournament second round action in Charlotte. Under a minute to go. Number 24 Louisville, a 4-point lead over SMU, 62-58. Earlier, NC State a 10-point win over Pitt, 98-88. SEC first round action. Under 9 minutes to go in the game. Auburn a 3-point lead over Mississippi State, 56-53. Kentucky already beat LSU 87-82 in the opening round. A-10 tournament first round action in Pittsburgh. St. Bonaventure over LaSalle 99-80. It was Loyola Chicago beating Richmond 75-67. Big East first round action at Madison Square Garden. They're at the half. Butler a 2-point lead over Providence, 42-40. Xavier and Marquette, followed by Georgetown and DePaul. Mountain West Conference first round action in Las Vegas. 8.5 minutes to go in the game. First one of the day. Wyoming a 1-point lead over UNLV, 56-55. 2 games down, 2 games to go here in the second round of our Big Ten tournament from Chicago. It was a Iowa win over Maryland, 75-64 in the opener. And then Washington defeats USC 83-79 in this second game. Balanced scoring from Washington, but what an afternoon for Kamari Peterson.
Work back to Diallo on the right side. 8 on the shot clock. Diallo tried to turn the corner. Baseline, back to the basket. Now finds Peterson, open 3 in front of the bench and slams it in. Kamari Peterson, big contested 3.
A 3 from Peterson. He had 5 on the afternoon. One of the 11 threes that Washington hit in the game. That's the play of the game, brought to you by USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more. Washington with 4 of their 5 starters in double figures. Zoom Diallo leading the way with 22 points. You heard Kamari Peterson's 3. He had 15. Wesley Yates III, former USC Trojan, by the way, he had 15. Hannes Steinbeck, their leading scorer on this season, just 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks. They didn't need his offense. They needed his defense and his rebounding, and he came up big in the second half in overtime as Washington gets the victory. That's going to do it for our broadcast. Day 2 of Compass Media Network's exclusive coverage of the 2026 Big Ten Men's Basketball Tournament has been presented by Robinhood, Cintas, USPS Ground Advantage, Venmo, and by Progressive Insurance. The final score, Washington 83, USC 79. I'd like to thank our crew this afternoon, on-site producer engineer Albert Dale, studio engineer Brian Clark, senior producer Chris Fiber, general manager is Robert Blum, and the executive producer of Compass Media Network Sports is Tyler Brewer. Don't forget, there's plenty more Big Ten tournament coverage coming up on Compass Media Networks. Up next in our night session, Indiana will take on Northwestern in the first of 2 games to come as we continue Compass Media Network's exclusive coverage of the 2026 Big Ten Men's Basketball Tournament. Once again, the final score, Washington 83, USC 79. Now for Andy Mazer and Trey Demps, I'm Tim Cates. You've been listening to the Big Ten Tournament on Compass Media Networks, America's home for college basketball.
"14 years in prison for killing a young woman. A 15-year sentence for a crash that caused 3 deaths. 12 and a half years for killing a child and critically injuring her mother. All true stories, all caused by marijuana-impaired drivers. No matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So, if you're high, just don't drive." Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Madness. March Madness. We are at that point where a random Tuesday can have several different factors going on. Not just with basketball, which March is mostly known for. I'm talking about NFL trades that have been vetoed, canceled because of a failed physical. I'm talking about America losing to Italy in the World Baseball Classic. I'm talking the Canes winning in a shootout last night in hockey. Or, even more, Kobe Bryant's record being broken. Bam Adebayo, of all players, great player, by the way. Let's not doubt his ability. He's the reason why the Heat are where they are at since Butler's departure. He has been the guy for a long time. Of all the people to hit 80, I think it's funny because do you really expect Bam Adebayo, of all players, to be the guy that hits 83 points and breaks Kobe's record? By the way, release the Wilt Chamberlain footage. Show me the 100 points. I've got the box score right here. We'll get over that there in a second, but what a game. And of course, it had to happen to our closest pro basketball team in our backyard, way out yonder in our backyard. The Washington Wizards, who may be tanking. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe the NBA. You could say, I've heard some conspiracy theorists say this, not me, but theorists say that the NBA told Miami to go all out and to continue let Bam Adebayo make up and get the 83 points to make Washington supposedly pay for tanking. I've heard a lot of crazy conspiracy theories, but I've also heard people disrespect Adebayo's 83-point game because look at how many times he went to the free throw line. I've seen the box score. I saw the last 2 minutes of the game right after Virginia Tech had their hearts broken in Charlotte last night against Wake Forest, the final game of the second round of the first round of the ACC tournament, which I will be heading to tomorrow. Very excited for that. Not the whole week like last year, but I'm excited because we got a lot of great basketball action. We just finished SMU and Louisville in a tight match over there in Charlotte. And if you were listening to our airwaves, you heard USC and Washington go down to overtime. And we were able to get right back here before showtime. But looking at Bam Adebayo's stats, 36 free throws, 43 attempts, 36 made, 20 for 43 in shooting, 7 of those made shots, and 22 of those attempts being from the three-point line. But I will say, everyone acts like Bam was just force-fed the ball constantly. I mean, why wouldn't you give it to your hot guy who had 31 points in the first quarter? If he's hot, let him cook. And I know if Kobe were here today, Kobe Bryant would give Bam Adebayo his dues. Yes, Kobe didn't need 30 free throws to get there. He only made 18. He only got 18. And Wilt Chamberlain, according to the box score here, by the way, apparently he played the entire game, 48 minutes total. 100 points, 25 total rebounds, 28 free throws, by the way, for Wilt, to cut about 8 short of what Bam had. I find it also funny that, number one, it's against the New York Knicks, who used to be the team you can make fun of, and now they've become super relevant, and Jalen Brunson and that crew up there, Karl Anthony Towns doing a great job up there. But at a time where the New York Knicks were a laughingstock, of course, Wilt would supposedly score 100 in this game. But the funniest part that I find is that there were 3 players that hit 30 points on the Knicks. Richie, 39. Willie Knowles, 31. Cleveland Buckner, 33. You might be going, who are these guys? These are guys that just happened to hit 30 the night that Wilt hit 100. And we don't talk about those guys hitting 30 because it was so long ago. Number one. Number two, Wilt's 100-point game obviously overshadowed it. Today, if we had 3 players that scored 30-plus points, 3 of them, 30-plus points on the same team, you know how wild of a story, how exciting that would be in the NBA? Yes, maybe defense isn't as relevant in the NBA today or back then like it was in the supposed 80s and the 90s. Back then when the Detroit Pistons were the bad boys that would make you fight for your points, or back when Kevin Garnett in the early 2000s, you had to probably fist fight him to get a bucket off him. All in all, though, Bam Adebayo may have been the least likely guy expected to get 83 points. I know people would have thought Luka, who got 70 a couple years back, Devin Booker's 77-point game. Maybe people thought Klay Thompson would out of nowhere get this kind of game. Because in one quarter, he scored 30-plus points as well. Even Klay Thompson himself in a press conference was befuddled when he had heard that Bam Adebayo broke Kobe's record. So congratulations to that guy right there, and excited for him. And he's got twins coming up with the legend that is Aja Wilson for WNBA. And as a Candace Parker fan myself, Wilson is one of the greatest to ever step on the court for the WNBA. Maybe Caitlin Clark will get there one day as the number one. She's definitely the number one current generational player. And you could argue Paige Beckers is probably up there in popularity. Whether you like her or not, Rachel Reese is up there in popularity, just not as popular as Caitlin Clark, or maybe not as popular as Paige Beckers, so forth speaking. But Wilson is a whole different breed. And Bam Adebayo and Wilson, that's a power couple that I think the NBA needs. And this was the kind of crazy story the NBA needed to keep viewership up, to bring the viewers in who were watching all the conference tournaments game. And then all of a sudden, hey, guys, Bam's got 70 points. That's what I heard. That's what made me tune in. And then you got the Hokies with the heartbreaking loss. Last night, Hokies lost in Hokie fashion. A team that they befuddled, dismantled at Castle not even 2 weeks back. Broke their hearts in the tournament. And what's even crazier, you want to know how Virginia Tech lost in Virginia Tech fashion? I'm sure Hokie fans hate to hear this part, but for those who may not have watched the game, it was the most Hokie way to lose a game when Bedford gets the rebound, puts up the chip shot that could have gone in, rings around the rim and out. And then Wake Forest took control in overtime, and VT never got the lead back. They out-rebounded the Deacons big time, but everywhere else, the Deacons beat them. Once again, the Hokies are now more than likely an NIT team alongside Stanford. And if you're a bubble team and you saw both the Hokies and Stanford fall last night, you are probably cheering your hearts out. But now you got to win your games. Shoot, VCU, win a couple of games, you're in. SMU, they're probably going to be in even after the loss to Louisville. It just depends on what other bubble teams do. I don't think Auburn should be in. I think, yeah, you play in a tough conference. You've got some okay wins. But the last team in the bubble that should be in is definitely Auburn. USC's lost today to Washington, probably heard it. You look at all the bracketology and all the bubble teams that are losing, you could make the argument that expanding the tournament, which wouldn't help mid-majors, it wouldn't help Conference USA have a two-bid league team, become a two-bid league. Because why put in Western Kentucky and Liberty, for example, just as examples, or Liberty and Sam Houston, when you can just throw in Auburn, when you can just throw in Stanford? But you look at how the bubbles teams are going right now. Why would you do that? You see the point? Tournament expansion, as John Ronstein would say, is not needed. Keep the tournament the same. We were fine with it being extended to 68 teams. That's fine. I don't mind the first 4 games that are played. A lot of people find those boring. I quite enjoy it because we've gotten some crazy games in those first 4 alone. Like, remember when Colorado State dismantled UVA? NC State was a first 4 team a couple years ago when they made that 2024 incredible Cinderella run. They had to fight to get where they were. And it started from literally the bottom, like they did in the ACC tournament. 5 days, 5 games, a championship win. Either way, these tournaments are showing the craziness of March Madness. But if you're a Hokie fan, Mike Young even said it himself yesterday. Disappointing. Doesn't even describe the Hokie season. If you listen to the show Monday, David Cunningham broke it down on how this season was just full of injuries. Tyler Johnson just came back not too long ago, and he had a great game yesterday too. Toby Lowell was in and out. You had 3 buzzer-beating losses in a row in the ACC play. And ACC play is what killed VT because they lost games they shouldn't have lost. You could argue they shouldn't have lost last night. Wake Forest should have been a win for them, as Joe told David Cunningham. But it's just the Hokie way to lose. All in all, I do think when you look at Mike Young and this Virginia Tech team, I will touch briefly on Max Crosby here in a second because that in itself was crazy. And Carita Parks will join the show to touch on that later on. I think when you look at this Virginia Tech team, I think of Mike Young exactly like Steve Forbes. You have great players, you have a great team, but you lose games that you're supposed to win. And then when it comes time to walk the talk, you stumble. That's the best way I can describe it. And Mike Young just got extended. He's not getting getting fired. Well, he didn't get extended, but VT announced that Mike Young was here to stay for another year. But some of these players are seniors, and there's no telling where Neo will go. Who's to say he'll stay and not go to the draft or probably get poached by another team? The transfer portal is even more lively in basketball, I would argue, than it is football. And there's less spots in basketball than there is in football. What is this Virginia Tech team going to look like? It's hard to tell right now. Is Shoot getting another year? Maybe. Ben Hammond will probably be here. You definitely lose Toby Lowell. A great career for the young kid who will not be returning. And I personally think, I was talking about this with Trey and Ty the other day, over a week ago, saying, hey, where do you see Toby? And I think a lot of people can agree. If he's not taken in the late first round, he's definitely early second round talent. I think he could benefit an NBA team. That's not even a fraction of all that happened yesterday. Vito, the Ravens, a couple days ago, as everyone knows, and I'm sure you've heard it on all the talk shows. I know it was on the Rich Eisen show. I guarantee you, if you're on Westwood One, listening to shows like the Jim Rome show, it was probably the main topic. I know ESPN was all over it, as they should be. NFL Network's been talking about it all day. Max Crosby was traded to the Ravens for 2 first-round picks, by the way. A big chunk of change that the Ravens sent the Raiders' way. They bring in Max Crosby. It's an exciting trade, because now Crosby's on a competing team. The Ravens have a decent defense that you can build around, including with Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, and so forth. They got a new coach and mentor who you feel like, who is a defensive-minded coach and can really create the staple that Ravens defense once was. Not exactly like the Ray Lewis kind, maybe, and the Ed Reeds and the Terrell Suggs, but a defense that is as frightening as Seattle's 12th man used to be, you could even argue. But what happens? All the teams that were going for Max Crosby back off and they go sign other players. I know the Bills today signed Bradley Chubb. Cowboys went and got Rashawn Gary. They were the other team in the mix for Max Crosby, willing to offer a first-round pick, but just one, not two. They were willing to offer a first and second rounder. Raiders took the Ravens offer. So Dallas moved on. Other teams moved on. Raiders were moving on. They were spending nearly $200 million in cap space, including on defensive players like Kwity Paye, who they paid like $34 million. They went and got Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, former Georgia Bulldog teammates, now in the linebacker core. Overly paid them, you could argue. Made Tyler Linderbaum the highest paid lineman in the league. And then last night, in all the madness of the tournament, in the middle of the Virginia Tech Wake Forest game, breaking news, Adam Schefter. The Ravens have declined the trade that would have given them Max Crosby. Originally accepted. Now they said, no, you can have him back. And instantly I remember going into the group chat and going, I may have been because of a failed physical. Sure enough, that's what it was. But one could argue, was it really a failed physical? Remember, the Ravens have done this before. The Ravens have signed a guy, paid him big money. Back in 2018, the name slips my mind at the moment, and I had it pulled up. But either way, they've done this before where they've traded for a guy, signed him for big money. Then the player who had never failed a physical all of a sudden fails a physical. And he wasn't injured the season before, but the Ravens said, he failed the physical. We are declining the trade now. What did the Ravens do first thing this morning? They signed Trey Hendrickson for way cheaper. And I guess with Hendrickson, who probably wanted a lot of money, realized, hey, I'm a 31-year-old defensive end. My time is getting short. I do have a little bit of an injury history. So maybe I should tenure the price down just a little bit. Lo and behold, the Ravens here, he's cheap now. Hey, guys, Max Crosby, yeah. Achilles doesn't look good, guys. Sorry. He failed his physical. We don't want it anymore. Here, Raiders, you take it back. And then they go and sign Trey Hendrickson this morning. A lot of NFL GMs are supposedly angry by this trade. I think that's the funny part, all the drama surrounding this. It's not even just the craziness of in the middle of the night, Max Crosby's trade is suddenly vetoed. Kind of like Ben Roethlisberger in 2022. That trade to the 49ers was vetoed. Or remember when Jerry Jeudy was almost traded from the Broncos to the Jets and Woody Johnson said, no, on a second thought, we don't want to do that. And then vetoed the trade, which allegedly was because his Madden rating was low. I tend not to believe crazy conspiracy theories like that, but that was the alleged reason. He would later become a Cleveland Brown. But this in itself is crazy. And now you've got the Raiders who are still stuck with Max Crosby's contract. He's supposed to get $35 million of this year's cap space. And I want you to realize all the money they've already paid all these free agents. Now you got to wonder, okay, can we get a team to take this guy now? Or do we want to keep him? You got a big decision to make. Do we have to cancel a free agent or two? It's going to be interesting to see what the Raiders do with this whole ideal situation. And I look forward to speaking to Carita Parks about it. But all in all, the Ravens didn't just play checkers. If they just didn't just get buyer's remorse, but more so decided, you know what? We have a better idea. We have a better idea. We're going to save
dollar bills, y'all.
And we are going to use our power, as McCarthy would remind us,
Lots of power.
And
rejected
the trade. And we may piss off the whole league, but hey, we just got a cheaper defensive end who was up there with Max Crosby in the sack category in numbers. He's just older. May work out for them. Who knows? All in all, we got some great college basketball action for you tonight. We got Liberty in the Conference USA tournament. I'm already 0-2 in my picks. I had FIU beating Missouri State. They would go off to not only lose to Missouri State, but fire their head coach of 8 years. And I think if you're Liberty, secretly, I'd like to imagine you're going, okay, sigh of relief. We barely beat this team twice. We probably could have beaten them again. But Missouri State, who we were handling fondly the one time that we played them at Bel Air, as Ed would call it.
Go home to Bel Air.
Now we're going to play Missouri State at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, which Alan York is about to join the show and discuss with us here in just a couple of seconds. And according to reports, by the way, last touch on the Ravens before our 5:45 segment, apparently, prior to pulling out, the Ravens had discussed renegotiating the terms with the Raiders to mitigate the risk. This is reported by Slater. They tried to renegotiate. They decided the injury risk was way too much to handle, and they axed it all. Ended up going with Trey Hendrickson. When we come back, we're going to preview Conference USA, Huntsville, Alabama's tournament as Liberty plays tonight against Missouri State, then Sam Houston playing against New Mexico State, who upset Jacksonville State and made me go 0-2 in my tournament picks. We're going to talk to Alan York about it, who is an hour now away from calling the Liberty game in Huntsville. Hopefully no leaky roofs. Hopefully no leaky roof delays this time around. We'll have to find out. But you're listening to the Fast Lane here. We don't leak delays here on the Fast Lane unless you can catch the bigger games, and we have to move the show because we try and bring you as much content, as much March Madness content as possible here on 93.3 FM, Lynchburg, BTRN Sports. And we got a lot of basketball action for you, including the last two games of the ACC tournament tonight and more of the ACC tomorrow as well. Alan York, when we come back, don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Fast Lane.
Apple Chevrolet. While the name's changed, we're still the same trusted Fellers team. Same management, same knowledgeable parts and service, same techs, same professional sales staff. With over 200 years of collective experience, we'll continue growing stronger alongside our community. From the newest Chevrolets to top quality pre-owned vehicles, Apple Chevrolet delivers the same unmatched customer service. Visit us at driveapple.com. Apple Chevrolet of Alta Vista, powered by the community we serve.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg. Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Are you tired of the advertising rep who never takes no for an answer and always comes back well after you've said no?
Yeah, hi, it's me again.
Then visit InsaneRadioDeals.com. You can shop for advertising on your terms. That's right. Not only can you get the best deals on restaurants, retails, and experiences at InsaneRadioDeals.com, get your advertising there as well. Get packages for one, a blend, or all Virginia Talk Radio Network platforms. When you purchase your package, you'll be assigned a producer to help customize your message that gets results. Thanks to InsaneRadioDeals.com.
From the blue waters of the Chesapeake Bay to the hills of Tennessee, listen to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle on the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
And welcome back into the Fast Lane. Madness everywhere. March Madness. We just talked about the ACC tournament here in the first segment. We touched a little bit on Conference USA, and which is taking place once again in Huntsville, Alabama. And hopefully this time the environment has no leaky roofs that delay any games anytime this week. I don't know for sure because I'm obviously not there, but we've reached out to Alan York to see if he can confirm whether or not we can expect leaky roof delays. Alan, can you confirm?
Hey, TJ, good to be on with you. Yeah, that's the funny running joke around here, Rocket City, which many of our listeners might have gone to space camp down here in Huntsville. But from all I understand is the roof is fixed. I was there yesterday when the team got into town. I stopped by there to pick up our media packet and things like that. And there was a game going on, so no leaky roof. But stranger things have happened this time of year, including last year where we had an hour delay with the championship game. That's what we're referencing now for folks that might have forgotten that story. But Liberty did go on to win the championship over Jack State. So if it takes a leaky roof to go back-to-back, we'll take it.
Absolutely. As Alan York of Liberty Flame Sports Network joining the program now. Liberty taking place at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 6:30 Central. Alan, the first question that comes to my mind, whether or not it's an overreaction, I'm sure you'd be able to correct me, is this the tournament for Liberty to lose?
I mean, this tournament this year, the conference this year, from top to bottom, is as tight as any conference this year. I don't care if you look at ACC, Big Ten, SEC, what have you. I'm sure more than not, conference races have been tight, and it's certainly been the case in Liberty. I mean, look at the big Conference USA. You look at Liberty, the number one seed, who lost 3 games in the regular season. Now, granted, it wasn't towards the end, but the 10th or the 8th seed, FIU, took Liberty to overtime twice.
Yeah.
So top to bottom, there's 12 teams in the league, only 10 make the tournament. It's anybody's to lose. I mean, just because Liberty's the number one seed, all that guarantees MTJ is wearing a light-colored uniform. Beyond that, it's as even as I've been in all of these conference tournaments I've been involved with in 16 years at Liberty.
Absolutely. Conference USA, we've seen it all year as you have, and it's been very tight race. We've seen Liberty, like you said, FIU, who lost last night. So I got to wonder if Liberty isn't comfortable, but may feel a little better about playing Missouri State at 5:30 p.m. in your time zone right now. How do you feel since the last time these two played that this is a different Missouri State team? or is this the same team that Liberty met on their home court in, as Ed Lane would say, Bel Air?
Yeah. It's the same team. Not playing as good as they were before they played Liberty. They went on a 7-game losing streak, including the loss to Liberty back on February 7th. But they still have 2 all-conference players, and Keith Palak and Michael Osebansu. So, Palak is the real deal, 18 points a game. Osebansu averaging nearly a double-double. Both had really good games against Liberty the first time. Liberty was up 20 in that game and was outscored 30-13 in the final 12 minutes. That just goes to show you the parity in this league. Now, one would make the argument, okay, Liberty didn't finish the deal. They won the game. They just didn't finish the game well, but you also have to tip the cap to these other teams. I think that's the frustrating part. I think, following Liberty, for the media that does, nobody's talking about, why Liberty loses lead in the 17-game winning streak. Things happen. Other teams have good players too. And I think that's where some of the frustration might come from those that follow the team, that, it's not just Liberty not doing what it needs to do sometimes, but the other team is good too. And despite that, Liberty bounced back and played well against Sam Houston on Saturday during senior day, and hopefully that'll springboard them here this week.
Alan York joining the fast lane here as he is boots on the ground in Huntsville, Alabama. And you talked about how good this conference and the many great teams that Liberty has had to face. It's been impressive that they even went on the win streak that they did, even if it was very tight in most cases to where it had to go into extra minutes for Liberty to win games.
Yeah, sometimes it takes more than 40 minutes to win a game. And Liberty's had a couple of overtime ball games, especially we mentioned with the FIU. But, no game is ever really in the bag until zeros are on the clock. So you have to play hard for 40 minutes. And I think that, when teams get on a roll, sometimes you maybe take for granted that you're playing really well, and but take no credit, away from the like a Western Kentucky, a team that played Liberty and beat them the first time in conference play after that 17-game win streak. And that was completely Western Kentucky. It wasn't anything about what Liberty did not do. It was the Hilltoppers had a game plan, and they executed better than Liberty. And sometimes you just have to say, okay, they beat us that day. But it's a new season for everybody down here. And look at the first 2 games in the tournament. It's been the lower seed that's won. New Mexico State, who barely made the tournament, is a 10 seed, beats the 7 Jack State last night. And number 9, Missouri State, beat number 8 FIU. So but each day is its new thing, and Coach McKay really preaches each day, each game is its own DNA. Doesn't matter what seed you have. That's what gives teams in postseason play kind of new life. If your regular season didn't go well, maybe you can turn the page and compartmentalize each season into different sections. And this being the postseason, we'll see how it shakes out here this week.
Alan York from Liberty Flames Sports Network, who will be the play-by-play guy on the radio tonight for the Liberty Flames. They will take on Missouri State here in about an hour from our time. Alan, before we touch on Liberty quickly, one more question, sir, about the surrounding teams. I look at the other side of the bracket from Liberty, and I see Sam Houston, the second best team in the conference, but I've seen Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State, who will play each other tomorrow. Liberty has a loss to 2 of those 3 teams, and we know that they're very competitive. Sam Houston has forced Liberty down to the wire a couple of times in their matchups. We know Kennesaw State, even without Cottle, has given Liberty heck on earth, even beat them once this year. And Western Kentucky, as you were referring to, gave Liberty their first conference loss. If you're Richie McCain Liberty and you get past the winner of LT in Middle Tennessee after getting past this game potentially tonight, which team do you feel like Liberty wants to see the least?
None of them. Liberty beat Kennesaw State too, TJ. So to say heck on earth, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So none of them. If I'm reading your question right, they've beaten all of them. So I mean, it's all about matchups, and Liberty's the number one seed for a reason. So to answer your question, none.
Alan, as we touch into Liberty real quick before we let you go, because I know you've got game preparation to finish here. Thank you for taking the time to come onto the show and talk about Conference USA down in Huntsville. We look at Liberty here. Richie McKay, I saw an interesting stat that John Manson posted. Talked about Richie McKay entering the program. When he entered the program, Liberty was never ranked in the top 150 in the KEPNOM rankings, among other things. Since Richie McKay has taken over the program, they have currently been in the top 150 8 straight times, and we've seen Richie McKay be one of those staple coaches alongside head softball coach Don. Can you talk about were you here when the program was without Richie McKay? Can you talk about that, what the fans may have missed, and what we're seeing now under Richie McKay and how the program has changed?
Yeah, it's a second stint here. Richie was the head coach from 07 to 09. I got here in the summer of 2010, so just missed his first 2 years. And Liberty won a championship under Dale Layer in 2013. A lot of Liberty fans will remember that miraculous 4 wins in 5 days Liberty had down at Coastal Carolina to win that championship. But had some good teams. I mean, you look back from, I think Coach McKay got back here in 2015, I think it was. And even before that, Liberty was number 1, number 2 in the Big South in seeding. But it got to a point where they were needing to infuse some new energy into the program. And Coach McKay wasn't far up the road at helping Tony Bennett at UVA. And what he brings to this program is, number one, he's a great basketball coach, but he's also a great leader of young men. And Coach McCall talks about doing life with each other, and it's much deeper than basketball. And once you're around the program, you feel it, you live it, and he wants what's best for these players away from the basketball floor, but also wants to win games as well. So it's really refreshing to be around Coach McKay. His approach is it's intentional with his relationships with his players, with his team, with his coaches, the families. And on top of that, he's a really good basketball coach. And he talks about he doesn't want to leave here. He certainly could get the pick of the litter maybe of other jobs, but he's decided to stay here and wants to continue to grow this program. And we'll have him as long as he wants to be here. And it seems like Coach is really happy in Lynchburg and wants to be here for a long time.
And we'll happily welcome him here each time, each and every season. Coach McKay, one of the greatest to coach in college basketball. Alan, I've got to get my usher on here. I haven't been able to watch every game for Liberty. But you have. You've watched this group, especially when we talk about the big three in Caden, Zach Cleveland, Colin Porter. We've seen Brett Decker have many great games. We've seen Harper come as a starter off the bench whenever he's needed to come on and off and so forth. This team just seems special. What have you seen throughout the season that just puts you in awe with this team, having called every single game this year? Outside of Dayton, I know Jason Prill called that game in Ohio.
Yeah, and Nick filled in for the Middle Tennessee game about a month ago. It's just, I mean, you said it, TJ. It starts with leadership from veteran guys who have been around the program 3 and 4 years. Matheny 3 and Xander Gates 3 years, and obviously Caden and or Zach and Colin have been around 4. And that's rare in this day and age of basketball. And that continuity, that friendship on and off the floor, it molds this team together. And then the last couple of years, we've been able to infuse transfers. Jamon Moffmer, Talon Peter last year. Talon's now, with Pacers in the NBA. And you look at J.J. Harper, who transferred in from West Liberty, kind of a Jamon Moffmer type story where it's his final year of college basketball and he wants to play D1. And he's been great. Josh Smith, who's transferred from Stetson, he's been around a couple of years. So it's an old team, and that is rare in college basketball. And you're seeing the record of what it is at 25-6, the number one seed. It's not a, whatever the phrase is you want to say, one-year wonder, flash in the pan. It's a program built on sustaining good people, and that's what it's done. So that's probably what, to your point of what amazes me is just how much fun this group likes to have with each other on and off the floor, and their relationships off the floor make them as tight as they are off the floor. They're just that as tight on the floor as well.
Alan, we'll cap off on this. Looking at the outlook of the Conference USA tournament for Liberty, what do you feel like Liberty has to come in with and get better with to be able to go all the way down to the championship on Saturday and punch a ticket to the big dance?
Well, they got to shoot well. I think all teams at some point have to score some points to win games.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the case for Liberty. As talented as they are offensively, you don't really worry so much about them putting up points. But defensively, they have to play better than they had the last couple of weeks. That's for sure. Losing, 3 of 5 coming in, that was not their identity. Okay, we can all say, not the biggest team in the country. That's well documented. But they need to rebound better. And despite maybe a lack of size, that's one thing Coach McKay's talked about. Limit the second chance points for their opponents, which they've not been great at. If there's one knock on this team, it's the second chance points, and giving the opponents extra opportunities. So that's something that certainly we'll have to be mindful of during this run here this week, which we hope will wrap up on Saturday night.
Alan York of the Liberty Flame Sports Network, boots on the ground, calling every Liberty game from the tournament down in Huntsville. Alan, thank you for giving us some of your time about an hour before the game, and also praying for no leaky roofs and praying that you have a safe trip back here to Bel Air. Thank you for joining us, man.
I appreciate it, TJ. Go Flames.
Yes, sir. When we come back, ACC Tournament Outlook with Terry Spain, and then we'll get a couple of comments from Miss Carita Parks of Double Take Sports to talk about the crazy, bizarre Max Crosby and Ravens trade that didn't go through. The Ravens backed out, as we spoke on in the first segment. We'll get some comments on that. All this and more on the Fast Lane.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile, with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER-1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Spring means green lawns, open windows, and afternoons spent outdoors. At Brownstone Properties, you'll find homes with private yards, with locations near scenic walking trails, or beautiful local parks, perfect for family picnics or peaceful strolls. This season, find your place to grow. Start today at brownstoneproperties.com or call 434-385-1025. Brownstone Properties, where home is at the heart of everything we do.
Whether you're facing a tough season or looking for support to overcome life's obstacles, Central Virginia Counseling is here for you. Central Virginia Counseling is accepting new clients at both Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road, and telehealth is available anywhere in Virginia. Serving children, teens, and adults, our counselors are equipped with diverse skill sets to help you on your journey. For more information, visit us at centralvirginiacounseling.com.
Midday hunger hitting you hard? Swing by Makadoos for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Makadoos Chef Salad, a healthy, loaded favorite that will hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Makadoos with eats that won't break the bank.
Time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Makadoos.
We'll see you at the Doos.
Wednesday on the morning warm-up, Bryson Gordon, NewsAdvance.com, joined us to talk about Liberty's path to a Conference USA title, and Lake Lewis, NFL and Commanders insider, on the moves the Commanders have made so far in free agency. Thursday, the Hokies hoops season has wrapped up after that loss to Wake Forest and presumably not making the NCAA tournament. We wrap it up as well with Andy Bitter, TechSideline.com. So join us on the morning warm-up, weekday morning, 7 8 a.m. on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 a.m., and on the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the fast lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the fast lane.
March Madness continues here on the fast lane. It's a mad, mad world out there as we have described it. Crazy off season for the NFL, as it usually is, but more so we look at the conference tournaments. We just spoke with Alan York about Conference USA, where Liberty is obviously in, and they are in Huntsville right now, about to play in less than an hour. And in less than an hour, the ACC tournament will continue with Cal and Florida State, that you can listen to on VTR and Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 AM Lynchburg. I'll be on site for the tournament later this week. Plan is to be there tomorrow. With that being said, we've got someone that is on site that Ed's known for a while. He's been there all the entire week. He just saw a great game between SMU and Louisville. SMU fighting to get in the tournament, while Stanford and VT, who lost yesterday, which we'll touch on, are right now Final Four outs. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Terry Spain joining the program. Terry, how's Charlotte treating you down there?
Charlotte is absolutely amazing. Thanks for having me. And the weather's great, so I'm not going to complain at all.
That's good. Well, weather's great. It's nice up here. It's starting to get hot again, and the action down there is hot. I mean, outside of SMU and Syracuse yesterday towards the end, Pitt taking Stanford down to the wire, upsetting them, and they came close to coming back against NC State. We saw, though, first things first, Wake Forest in the Hokie season as far as NCAA tournament hopes go, more than likely an NIT team. What is it from your perspective that the Hokies, they had a great team all year long, but they just couldn't get the job done in the end, letting multiple games slip through their fingers, including last night?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. They let every game slip through their fingers. This was an overtime win that a lot of people thought initially that Virginia Tech was going to win this game. They were actually favored to win this game, and I know they got some unfortunate news about one of their players, but and I hope that did not kind of stall them to playing this way. But it was an overtime victory. But they did not stop the key players for Wake Forest that actually willed their way to this game. Players like Trayvon Spillers, he had an outstanding game last night. And I think that was probably the demise of Virginia Tech last night.
Terry Spain from Sports First Media joining us here, live on site, boots on the ground in Charlotte. You watch the Hokies get their heart broken. Then today, we saw Pitt act as a Cinderella team a bit. They ended Stanford's hopes, but just couldn't get the job done against NC State. Terry, I guess the best way to put it is, how important was this win for Will Wade and his team? Because they went from an 8th seed in the NCAA tournament, went to a potential double bye in the ACC tournament, and then fell from grace the last 4 games of the season. and a loss to Pitt would have been detrimental.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'll tell you what, when I had an opportunity to see the interview for the NC State coach, he looked relieved because he knew that he needed this victory. And you're right, there were a lot of fans that came out, despite how NC State had played towards the end of the season. There were a lot of fans that came out to support their team. And quite honestly, I think that's what really got them over the hump was the fan noise. It was loud in there, and it was good to see these players. Lubin had an excellent game, and I think they wanted it more, just a little bit more than Pitt.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you feel like, Jeff Capel? Do you feel like we're going to hear in the next couple hours that his time in Pittsburgh is done? And I love the guy to death, one of my favorite coaches, but things just aren't working out there in these last couple of years.
Yeah, I really hope not. Jeff Capel's been a great coach. I actually had a chance to dap him up after the game, and he was still looking positive. But it's just about recruiting. The ACC has added 3 more teams to the Atlantic Coast Conference over the last years, and now you've got to compete with those teams as well as getting the best players. And so I think that he's on the right track. He's doing a great job, and I just think if he gets some of the right players to come and want to play for him at Pitt, he would do it would be even more better for him. But I don't think they should get rid of him just well, because it's really hard to find coaches, and more particular when you have coaches and you fire that coach, then now you got to look at recruiting and all the players that coach has done the jobs of recruiting some of these players. They may not want to play for the next coach. So I wouldn't give up on Jeff Capel if I was Pitt.
Do you feel like, before we go into UVA's outlook and even Duke's, who are going to be missing 2 guys going into the ACC tournament, but do you feel like teams like Pitt, Syracuse, even Wake Forest, when it comes to funds in this college basketball landscape, do you feel like the funding that these programs aren't getting is the main reason why these programs are faltering? Because it feels like a couple of years ago, even with once Jim Boeheim retired, for example, Syracuse, Adrian Autry and that crew were fine. Jeff Capel in Pittsburgh, they were fine. They were doing okay. But it feels Wake Forest even, they were Wake Forest under Coach Steve, and they've been Steve Forbes, and they're performing well, but it feels like under the new landscape, they are unable to keep up because they just can't get the funds like a Duke or even a Tech, UVA, so forth.
Yeah, and that could play a part, and that's actually a good point that you mentioned. That could be something that happens, but you got to realize too, this is the ACC, so a lot of these players, they want to play for a winning team. So these teams actually have to win as well. So I think it kind of comprises of all different factors as it relates to why a team is not playing as well as they should have. But funding is probably definitely one of the issues.
Terry Swain, First Sports Media, joining us here on the Fast Lane. Terry, we look at UVA, and what a great job Ryan Odom has done. Got him to the 2nd seed. They don't play until tomorrow at noon against NC State again, which they've decimated both times they've played. What have you seen out of this UVA team throughout the regular season that may give you the confidence that Ryan Odom and this team that has great depth with Ritter and so forth could win even under Duke's nose, even though Duke has blown them out in the regular season?
Yeah, when I look at the UVA team, I look at some things that I saw as I was watching them and watching a lot of film. They're a gritty team, but the thing about it is they have a great cohesiveness and they play well together. So I know the last time when they played Duke, it didn't work out in their favors, but they do have a chip on their shoulder as it relates to that game. But they want to prove that they should have been the number 1 seed and not Duke. So they have a lot to prove, but I wouldn't sleep on NC State either, because NC State, I have to admit, they brought the fans out here. And I know Virginia will bring their fans as well, but NC State has a lot to prove as well.
Barry Spain, who's on site, seen it all, the Wolfpack family, not far travel from Charlotte, about 3 hours from the campus of NC State. We look at Duke and Carolina, the Caleb Wilson injury. It's been a problem for a while, unfortunately, where he was supposed to come back against Duke, then would break his thumb, and now he's out for the rest of the year. And then you look at Duke, they've lost Foster and Pat, 2 key additions. But It seems like, though, these two teams know how to win even without those key pieces. Now, Duke, as you know, has only had to go without Pat and Caleb for one game, whereas UNC, they've been winning even without Caleb. How do you think this will impact them in the ACC tourney, especially when they face each other once again?
Yeah, I think it would impact Duke a little bit more because these injuries that they have are new. So they're fresh. So they're still trying to find their identity because they're going to have their hands full with the team that they have to play, whether it's the winner out of Florida State or Cal. But North Carolina, they played without Caleb for a while, very similar to how they played when Seth Trimble was hurt. They were able to somehow galvanize their team together and win some games. And so I think that they know already that they're not going to have Caleb, which is a tough blow. And I hate to see that this young man's going to be out of the tournament because a lot of people was anxious to see how he would perform in the ACC tournament. But I think that both teams, they have a winning culture and they've set the precedent. The ACC, when you think of the ACC, you think of, for basketball, you think of North Carolina, you think of Duke for the most part. There are other teams that fall in there too. But those are the two big perennial powerhouses. And they're gonna have to display that and show not only the ACC but the NCAA that, hey, we know we have key injuries, but our team is willing to show what we have, and we're here to stay.
Absolutely. As Terry Spain is joined us here on the Fast Lane. Terry, last one for you before we get to Carita Parks. Who do you think is the underdog to look out for in the ACC tournament? Now that you have a round and a half under your belt, but we still haven't seen Miami play yet, nor FSU and Cal and Clemson, along with the other teams we mentioned. Of the teams not in the top four, who's the team to look out for? Or maybe is it Jai Lucas in Miami?
Well, Miami's in the top four. They're number 3,
Yeah,
so they're
absolutely.
not really like a sneak up team because Miami had beaten North Carolina before. I was actually covering that game in Miami when they beat North Carolina. But one sleeper team that I would have to say to watch out for is Wake Forest. And even though they're not a big team, but they always find a way to win. And if Wake Forest can somehow beat Clemson tonight, you got to look out for them.
Absolutely. Juke Harris is a great guard, great scorer all around. Shout out to Sebastian Aikens on Wake Forest, who played for LCA here in the city of Lynchburg. A great defender in himself. Terry, thank you for joining us and taking the time to speak with us, man. And we hope you have a great rest of the night and that the action continues to be hot as we get ready to head into these next two games.
Thank you for having me, and I'll see you tomorrow at the tournament.
See you tomorrow, man. I'm excited. Can't wait. Now, before we close the show, we do have another special guest to get to, and we thank her for her patience here. As we did go into a little bit of overtime, kind of like Wake Forest and Virginia Tech did yesterday, but hopefully we don't miss on this interview like Bedford did with that chip shot with Miss Carita Parks of Double Take Sports. And Carita, I can only imagine the night you had and how much your phone was blowing up after the vetoed trade between the Ravens and the Raiders of Max Crosby. Where were you when all this took place, and what was going through your mind as your phone must have been blowing up through all this?
That had nothing to do with NFL or football. And I heard the news, and I was a little confused at first because it happens, right? Trades fall through, but you don't see it often. And especially when it comes to a trade this big for the Ravens, they took a huge swing. 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. That's something that's also out of character for them. And so for this to fall through, I was just, in disbelief like most people.
The general manager came out with the press conference to discuss this. Were you able to make that? And what can you tell us about his words that he spoke at the press conference about this whole ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, he sounded actually pretty distraught. He said that they really wanted the trade to go through, but based on an assessment of the situation, that he has to do what's best for the organization. He didn't specifically say medicals because, they're trying to be as transparent as possible, but probably didn't really want to get into that. So he didn't specifically say medicals, but you can infer that is likely what occurred. He said that, they talked to multiple people, tried to gather additional information, and after that, they just did not feel comfortable moving forward. And he just reiterated he had to do what was best for the Ravens. But he said he was gutted that the trade did not go through.
Yeah, I had heard a comment while we were live on air during commercial break that they really wanted both Hendrickson and Crosby and that they were willing to do what it took, supposedly. Could you, what, well, I guess the next best thing is here, if you're the Ravens, where do you go from here? I mean, you got a solid DN and Trey Hendrickson still. Where do you go from here? And now you've got your first round picks back. What would you do if you're in DaCosta's or Minter's shoes here?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, just knowing what I know of the organization, they signed a couple additional free agents today, not on the defensive line specifically, but this is a team that likes to draft and develop. They still have Mike Green, who they drafted last year and was able to get some snaps and reps in and was able to progressively get better. So at this point, I think they're going to go back to focusing on, he actually said it. He was like, they're going to focus on the draft at this point. And, they're still going to look in free agency to see if they can add some additional pieces, but they're just like, we have to move on as an organization. And that seems to be what they're going to do. But having Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby would have been a game changer. And it really would have put the Ravens defense back to that point of where they want it to be and what they're known for, which is having a scary defense.
And it probably would have made Joe Burrow do a double take on both sides of the line, kind of like Carita Parks here from Double Take Sports.
Exactly.
Hey, I love it. Carita Parks joining us here on the show. Carita, a couple more questions here for you as we are in overtime on the show. Have you heard that GMs are really upset with the Ravens right now because they feel like the Ravens, in some cases, did it on purpose? Maybe they had buyer's remorse at the last minute and the medical injury was with the failed physical was just a way for them to get out. What have you heard with all that drama that sounds like a Days of Our Lives episode at this point?
I mean, there's a lot of speculation. And don't get me wrong, unless Eric DaCosta is a really good actor, he definitely seemed very, distraught by the outcome. Because like I said, they don't usually make big swings like that. So it's hard for me to see that if Max Crosby would have panned out, that they would have reneged on the deal because they were willing to give up 2 first-round picks for him. And they're a very thoughtful organization. They don't just make knee-jerk decisions.
Yeah.
So if they decided to go after him and give up 2 first-round picks, I don't see them having buyer's remorse because I'm sure it was a very well thought-out decision. But to your question about our GMs upset, I mean, there's speculation. Eric DaCosta was asked about that. He said it hasn't stopped his phone from ringing and that teams still want to make deals with them.
Absolutely.
And they made some deals today.
Yeah, they did actually. And it seems like the Ravens have moved on. The Raiders, they'll try and move on from here. I mean, they have not commented yet. But so you're saying this isn't the 2018 Ryan Grant for Michael Crabtree speculation, and that this is just an overreaction from people, that there's no hidden conspiracy behind all this?
I don't feel like there is a conspiracy behind it, just because, like I said, if Max Crosby would have panned out, they would have, I can't imagine them not wanting to have Max Crosby on their defensive line. He fits what it means to be a Raven. He fits their identity so perfectly and their pass rush was just so bad last year. You have to think about the fallout from their season last year. Coach Harbaugh's gone. They lost a litany of players. Now they're in this position where they're trying to start over. And that was a top priority position this offseason. So I understood why they took such a big swing. And it's hard for me to think that they would have given him up.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I know you're going to have all the scoops on it. Last question for you. You're also a PR person. So if you're a
Correct.
PR person, what are you advising for DeCostas and the Ravens organization as far as, hey, control what you say in front of the media, but be as transparent as possible? If you're that PR rep, what are you telling them?
Well, I think they did the right thing because what happened yesterday, there was silence from the Ravens. Like, you just didn't hear anything. They did put a statement out. The Raiders got the statement out first. And even though the Raiders didn't further comment, they are the ones who put the news out there besides Adam Schefter that this trade fell through. So we heard nothing from the Ravens. We didn't have their side of the story. You know, we were hearing that they signed Trey Hendrickson. And as you mentioned, the speculation was running wild. So I'm sure that the PR team advised Eric DeCosta to speak and get their story out there and kind of control the narrative. And truthfully, now that he has spoken, the narrative has shifted from, oh, this trade fell through to, oh, they were trying to sign both Crosby and Hendrickson. You know, that's what everyone's talking about now. Yeah. Like, oh, they were trying to create a nightmare defense. And Eric DeCosta was really trying to make moves behind the scenes. So the narrative has shifted. And so they were able to fill in some of those blanks, which I think was very important because the silence was allowing everyone else to fill in the blanks.
Absolutely. Well, we didn't get any of radio silence from Carita Parks or any of our guests today. We had a great show. Carita, thank you for joining us at the last minute, answering my text at midnight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great night and happy summer.
Thank you. You too. It feels good outside.
It really does. Thank you to Carita Parks for joining us, and thank you for tuning in. Let's get back to some March Madness. ACC action. California, Florida State. Florida State on a game-winning streak right now. California in the bubble. Who comes out on top? Winner faces Duke. We'll find out on VTRN's 93.3 FM Lynchburg, on W227 BG Timberlake, and WVGM and Southside Gretna. Thank you for tuning in. And now back to March Madness.
The kind of quarterback, the way that he coaches, the way that he structures an offense, you can have improvisation, but that may be too much improv for Mike McCarthy.
Hey, you know what, Freddie? If he struggles to find a team, you know what? Since that salary is going to be low, bring them on to Atlanta. Let all three guys fight it out. Fight quarterbacks. May the best man win. We need somebody to be who wants to be great. Be great.
Put it this way: if that happens, and I'm going to play along with you, it'd be the worst episode of Friday Night Lights ever.
3 is the magic number.
It'd be the worst episode of Friday Night Lights ever.
There were 3 in the family.
You don't need 3 in that family, dude.
All right, Freddie, if that was Three's Company, which quarterback would be who? If it was Three's Company?
Well, definitely Tua Tagovailoa would be Chrissy. Kyler would be Janet. And Michael Penix with his do-rag would definitely be Jack Tripper. Definitely.
That would be a very interesting quarterback room. Low salaries, fight.
Yeah. 3 of those quarterbacks, star-crossed quarterbacks in that same room. If that's not a reality show begging to be made, I don't know what is. Harry Douglas, Freddie Coleman is the afternoon group with known as Freddie and Harry on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. And don't forget about college basketball being in the home stretch tomorrow, the ACC Tournament quarterfinals with coverage beginning at 11:30 Eastern Time on ESPN Radio. And don't forget to check it out on the ESPN app.
This is your safe space, your sports therapy, your chance to get it off your chest. Safe Space with Freddie and Harry.
888 say ESPN 888-729-3776. Whatever it is on your mind that you need to get out and you want to make sure that nobody gets in the way of your flow, that's what Safe Space is all about. It's all about yes for you to speak and nobody and nothing gets in your way. 888 say ESPN 888-729-3776. One of our favorites is Anthony in Dallas. Anthony, kick off this Safe Space on this Wednesday.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Anthony?
Hey, man, I'm a Steelers fan. Of course, y'all know that. For 49.